Hey everyone, today I want to produce indie pop with you. It's a genre that is like super popular at the moment, especially with TikTok, I feel like, and everything. Also, Harry Styles, as it was, I think, is also kind of indie pop, and it's huge right now. So I want to break down my own song, Teenage Blood, that I released a few weeks ago, that I think has a lot of like indie pop vibes. So that's what I'm gonna do today. The main thing in indie pop, at least to me, outside of vocals probably, is drums. And drums in indie pop, I think, should sound super like big and real. Also, probably a lot of reverb on both vocals and whatever else guitars, and also obviously a lot of guitars, especially electrics. And also, quite often, indie pop has like a lot of vocal effects on it. I'm not gonna have it really in my song, but yeah, that's also quite popular in indie pop songs. So yeah, those are the main elements. And also, indie pop is a lot about just being upbeat. Also drums like super upbeat, quite fast tempo. And this song is not like particularly fast, but still quite upbeat, I would say. So let's just dive into it. And the first thing I'm gonna start with is the drums. And we're gonna start with the kick. The kick here is quite big, and it's not really like some basic pattern like 4 on the floor. I think I tried to switch it up a little here, so it's not just like something super basic. So it sounds like this. I have some noise reduction here because I thought that that kind of noise, that, space after the whole transient is a little too much. So I just wanted to reduce it a little. Because also this sample, I couldn't really work much with it. I could not really, modify it too much. I couldn't really cut. It didn't sound well. So I thought, okay, I'll just, cut out some of the noise. And so yeah, that's what I did. Then I have some compressor, just like not too hard. And then some EQ, just basic kick EQ, really. I think it's actually just a preset from, Logic's EQ. I just adjust it a little. That's basically what I always do. Just take a preset and adjust to my own song. I think that's the fastest way, and it's also a great way to learn. Then we have a snare, and in this song I used quite a bit of layers here. This is the first one. That's basically how the first layer sounds, the main layer. Just like, big snare. And then I just layered with a tiny bit of different sounding snare. This is a lot like thinner and a lot shorter too. And then this snare, kind of similar but more of like boxy sounding, And then basically they're all panned left and right, like these two, right? And the main snare is central. When you try to layer snares, guitar, synths, whatever, you always have to think about what are you missing. Here I was missing a bit of transient, so I brought these two snares, right? Because the first snare was like super big and it was kind of long, spacey. And then I needed those two snares to kind of make it a bit punchier. And that's you just gotta figure out what do you need extra. Here I have the other snare. I could have just taken the first snare, but I wanted a bit more of diversity. I think it's always good to have a different snare, or at least a snare that's like pitched down or up a little, or maybe have an extra layer or something, so that it doesn't sound the same as the other snares, So for me, I had this pattern here. This is a little heavier, I think. Let me hear it. Yeah, this is a lot heavier. And these drums is basically what makes first verse and also the pre-chorus. Oh, actually, I don't have a pre-chorus. Okay, that's what makes the verse, right? I only really have, at least the first part of it, I only have the kick and the snare. Listen to it. It's been some time since I got in this cage.
I never felt the need to make a change, cause I'm just fine.
And then here comes the snare.
They say get out, you've gotten over right.
Although admittedly, here also comes the guitar and the bass. But yeah, looking at the first verse, there's also like this vocal stack that I have instead of like, I didn't really want to use any synths or guitars as like the kind of, for chords. So I thought, okay, I'll use my voice for chords, right? So I just had this actually not particularly big vocal stack of like chords basically. So I was essentially singing, the notes from each chord and then just layered them and it sounds just like a chord, And yeah, this and the snare and the kick was the bass for my first verse, at least first part of it.
It's been some time since I got in this cage.
And the processing that I have here is quite simple. Compressor, channel EQ, bit of noise cancelling, waves, NS1, and a tiny bit of saturation. Just such saturation knob, which is free, so it's just awesome.
I never felt the need to make a change, cause I'm just fine.
This compressor is actually super inactive. Kind of interesting. I guess I have a bit more processing in this bus.
It's fine.
Actually, not really. I guess I didn't really need a lot of compressing for those, vocal stacks. It seems like it's kind of already a little compressed. You don't necessarily always need a compressor, right? And also the same goes to EQ. You don't necessarily always have to do it. Just because someone says to always EQ it doesn't mean it's always necessary. And in this case, I guess I decided that I don't really need a lot of compression. And EQ is also like quite minimal here.
Alone, I hear my
And that's all I needed. I guess I could have added a bit more of high end, but it still sounds fine. And then I also have bus processing, a tiny bit of reverb.
hear my thoughts clear.
So like this bus, I send this signal into a bus which has a reverb on it, and then I just adjust the gain of that bus, how much of that reverb I want to hear in the song. And I have usually 2 reverb buses and then 1 delay bus. And I also try to have different buses for different type of vocals. So for the lead, I have 1 set of buses. For the harmonies, I have another set of buses. And then for the vocal stacks, I have another set of buses. Because I usually use different reverbs, I use different side chaining, I use different delays and that kind of stuff, and I just want them to feel different, right? So that's pretty much what I have for the stack here. And what I also want to show here is the intro that I kind of skipped. So this is kind of me singing with just a bunch of reverb, really reverb, and I think some modulation. I see this is like a bounced out region already, so just like a whole lot of reverb on that file, on that region. And then this is just slightly modulated. There's a lot more of like saturation, and also a little some pitch shifting and tremolator, so like some tremolo effect, and that's, yeah. Okay, that was my intro, and I think some also just like a tiny bit of guitar for the intro. I think one also big part of indie pop is super reverby electric guitar strums, and that's what I also did here. And that's super easy intro. Just these 2 elements really. And also I forgot this tiny vocal stack. Just like not a huge stack. Basically the same processing, nothing huge. A tiny bit of compressor, EQ, noise reduction, and a bit of saturation, and the same bus processing as for the previous stack. And this is also going to be used later on in the chorus when I sing, my body's filled with teenage blood. So this is kind of like that tagline, melody. Second part of that first verse starts with has some extra guitar. Where is it? It's here. Super simple, super basic strumming. Another element that comes here is the bass, and here I didn't use sub bass or a bass guitar that I usually do. I used uptight bass, which is kind of like strings bass, kind of contrabass or whatever it's called. And usually for basses I have a double, which is kind of like an octave up and has a little bit more of processing that just adds some high end to the bass that I would love. Here I still have this vocal stack, and then altogether it sounds like this.
They say get out, you've gotten overripe. I guess one time won't hurt a single soul, but I got caught. She booked the Cupid's arrow. My favorite trap.
Here's just like a small stack again. Basically I feel like vocal stacks is also a big part of indie pop, so I had plenty of them here, maybe even a bit too many.
My favorite trap.
Not that many harmonies here. I think just like doubles for each note.
My favorite.
And then this is probably falsetto.
My favorite trap.
Yeah, just like double of in falsetto.
My favorite trap.
Okay, this is just a tiny bit different, and then this.
My favorite trap.
Yeah, just like two harmonies really, and just like doubling them, and having falsetto notes and then chest voice. Then comes the chorus where I add this super reverby electric guitar. Actually, in the whole song, I don't have that many guitars, just like a tiny, only like five guitar, tracks, which is not a lot even. I usually have a bunch of them because, guitar is holy for me, so I always have it in all of my songs, almost, I feel. In one way or another, I'll always have it. But here I have the same, electric guitar from the intro. Together with this.
There's the crit.
And then another guitar here. Just like some picking. Also has some chorus I hear, micro shift. And not a lot going on, some Logic stock amp here, then a compressor, and an EQ. Just like reducing the harsh frequencies that I didn't like, and adding a bit of high end, and also cutting off some low end. Then I have drums, which are essentially the same as in the second verse. There's one crash here. Just like wanted to add a bit more of impact to that beginning of the chorus, so that you can clearly hear the difference between the first verse, and the chorus, that you can hear that the chorus is hitting. And here comes the hi-hats. Also, hi-hats are also quite important in indie pop, and I wanted them to sound as real as possible as well. So I have two hi-hats here actually. First of all, the first hi-hat is super, I was trying to control the velocity as much as I could, so I was adjusting each note, basically, each MIDI note. And there's another hi-hat. So which is just like, it's not as frequent as this hi-hat, but it occasionally appears slightly to the left, as you can see here, and this one is slightly to the right, so that people hear that right hi-hat, and then occasionally there's this left hi-hat that appears. and it's just a bit more interesting. You know, if you only use one hi-hat and it's, you know, played in the same way, same velocity, same volume, pitch, it's just gonna sound boring. You know, you're gonna get tired of it. So one way to avoid that is to adjust the velocity or pitch or volume at least. And even better way is to having multiple hi-hats, 2 or 3. More is not necessary, I think. Chorus obviously features the same bass guitar, a little different line. And then with the guitar.
My body's filled with teenage blood.
An important element here is also this kind of modulated piano sound. It's just got a whole lot of distortion in chorus, and it just sounded cool. So yeah, that was kind of like the lead almost melody.
To dive inside her. My body's filled with teenage blood. My body's.
Here, when this tagline comes in, my body's filled with teenage blood, I get rid of the bass guitar to, again, you know, make it sound a little different. Here, I have the same melody from the intro, you know, my body's filled with teenage blood. That is the melody from the intro. And I also have, you know, I basically took out that stack from the intro and I put it in the chorus as well because it has the same melody. And it just adds a bit more power to my tagline, you know. So, and I took this one. It's just balanced as one stack, you know. And then I also have the vocal transformed double. And then also just like I usually have these transformed vocals throughout the song, and here I also have them in the chorus. For example, here.
My body's filled with teenage blood.
And here I have another stack on that blood, you know. Here, just like a tiny bit of stacking.
Power over me.
Yeah, just like some harmonies. Here, in terms of like the real harmonies here, I doubled the whole chorus essentially, and
now I'm begging, please
some harmony.
give me some answer. Just wanna romance her. The craving took the power over me. Unexpected excitement has invaded.
This is
turns out I missed it. I crave to dive inside her
some harmonies
waves.
here. This is
My body, I crave to dive inside her waves. Excitement has invaded. Oh, turns out I missed it. I crave to dive inside her waves.
also a bunch of harmonies here.
My body's filled with teenage blood.
And also add this, you know, stack on that blood.
Teenage blood.
So quite a bit.
My body's filled with teenage blood. There was no time to do a full reset.
Here again comes back. I didn't have those stacks, remember the chord vocal stacks, right? I didn't have them in the chorus, but now they come back in the second verse. And that's how the second verse starts, with just
There was no time to do a full reset.
and also obviously the lead vocal. A lot of producers would use white noise, and I still do myself too. It's a great way to, you know, add the tension, build the tension, is to just use a tiny bit of region of white noise and then kind of use fade tool so that it goes up, you know, in volume. And that is a great way. Here I used electric guitar. Basically, I did one strumming on an electric guitar and I reversed it. And then, you know, when you strum a guitar, it kind of fades away in volume, right? But when you reverse it, it goes up in volume. And so that's a great way to also, you know, build that tension. I have a lot of like response type of stacks here. For example,
There was no time to do a full reset.
No time, because I say there is no time to do a full reset, and then I kind of in the background as a vocal stack there is just no time, and then later I have
Single mode, I'm like
single mode, and then in the first verse I had like,
fine. I thought
you know,
cause I'm just fine.
because I'm just fine, and then in the background is like vocal stack I have I thought I'm fine. So that's just call and response. Otherwise the second verse pretty much goes the same way as the second part of the first verse. I also layered that reversed electric guitar with just a tiny bit of effects. So first of all, this is like the bass, kind of side chained bass that I did here, and this is kind of, I think this is a crash and a reversed bit of that modulated piano, and then I just layered them all together, and it just had that nice big uplifter.
Full reset. My head still operates in single modes. I'm like a young god.
Here I had a tiny bit of like cool element. I just sampled the whole, I sampled the chords, these chords, and just, you know, using sampler I just made this. Just using my keyboard, you know, you can sample your own voice and then play it on a keyboard. Then I wanted the second verse to also feel a little different from like that first part, because I thought, you know, it's probably getting a bit stagnant.
I'm like a young god again. Don't know how to act, I'm nervous, my brain has never been blown off so bad. I hope
So yeah, there's just a new melody here.
been blown off so bad.
So what I did, the bass goes like this, just like single notes. And same goes with the drums, just the kick. Oh, and yeah, one element that I had, which is pretty nice one, just a cowbell,
So
and then a cowbell here right before the chorus.
has never been blown off so bad.
And then to further kind of support that bass and the kick, I also had the guitar do the same thing. And then I just turned off this one region of that reverby electric guitar, because I didn't want that, you know, I just wanted that and what else do I have here? Oh yeah, and basically these vocal stacks are doing the same thing.
Kid has a
And in terms of vocal stacks here, like harmonies, I mean, again,
brain has never been blown off so bad.
this is super reverby, this one. Just wanted, you know, to put extra emphasis on that phrase and kind of end the second verse, because then comes the pre-chorus. So I thought that was a good way to end it. And then yeah, just like a bit of harmonies.
Gone again, don't know how to act, I'm
These are
nervous, my
doubles.
brain has
These
never
are
been
harmonies.
blown off so bad.
A bit more harmonies here.
Been blown off so bad. Been blown off so bad. Been blown off so bad.
This is whisper, actually, I think. Right?
Been blown off.
No, not this. These are whispers.
Blown off so bad.
Yeah, and then nothing much here. That's how the second verse ends. And then comes the pre-chorus, which was a bit laid back, you know. I wanted to hold back some of the energy before the second chorus, because I wanted to reserve all the energy for the chorus. So I went,
I hope you take it as a compliment. Right now I probably don't make much sense, but that's the effect that you leave on me.
This is essentially just the bass and the hi-hats from the drums. And then here comes the scratchy sound, like, you know, as DJs do, like this. And no, not this sound. It's kind of like, you know, rewinding, that kind of sound. Still kind of, I think DJs do it, right? I'm not sure. I'm not a big DJ fan, but yeah, this kind of DJ sound. And then also the cowbell that we talked about previously. And then comes the chorus again. And yeah, in this pre-chorus, nothing really else. Just a tiny bit of ad-libs here. First of all, this is still the second verse. Just a tiny bit of, like, you know, humming or just whoos or whatever. Just the whole song is basically filled with those. And then just a tiny bit of ad-libs here in the pre-chorus. And that's it. And yeah, the pre-chorus is the whole way just doubled. The verses are not doubled, only this part, the high part.
I'm like a young gone again, don't know how to act, I'm nervous, my brain has never been blown off so bad.
And then comes the chorus again, and this chorus is super similar to the second part of that first chorus, right? In terms of harmonies, in terms of instrumentation, everything really. I don't think there's any new detail here, to be honest. Just the same thing. Actually, I do have new, this kind of vocal chords, right? They come in the chorus. So I didn't have them in the first chorus, but they're coming back to this chorus now.
Now I'm begging, please give me some answer. Just wanna romance her. The craving took the power over.
And then, for example, stuff like this modulated piano, right? It's playing from the beginning, while previously it was playing from the second part of the chorus. So now it's like all the way through, and the same is with the hi-hats. And the crash is like both times here and like, you know, at the beginning of the chorus and then the beginning of the second part of the chorus. And yeah, and also like this picking guitar is also all the way through the second chorus. And then comes the bridge. Oh, actually, this chorus doesn't have like that tagline, that Teenage Blood line, right? Because I'm not sure why I didn't have it. I guess I wanted it to be a little different, or I just thought that that would be a little too much. You know, there was already like 2 times in the first chorus, and then I intended to have it 2 times at the last chorus, right? So I thought 6 times in total would be too many. So I stick to 4, 2 in the first chorus and then 2 in the last chorus, and I think it also fit well with the bridge. So now comes the bridge.
Again, I lost,
just like after his.
brave to dive inside her way. Again, I lost the battle to reverse psychology. Wanted to get out, instead I found another fall. Now I'm
Okay, this bridge. First of all, let's look at the instrumentation. It features only this guitar, only the picking guitar. Same guitar. A bunch of like ad-libs. And then a bit more harmonies here.
another fall.
Oh, and this is essentially from the intro. I used it as an uplifter again, you know. Again, you can use anything as an uplifter, and this is a prime example of that. Then here I have a bunch of layers here of harmonies, doubles.
Again, I lost the battle to reverse psychology. Wanted to get out, instead I found another fall. Again, I lost the battle to reverse psychology.
And then these harmonies come only on the second line.
Wanted to get out, instead I found another fall.
And there's also on the second line comes the kick. So at first the kick goes 4 on the floor, and then it becomes more and more frequent, and I add the snares here. So like, listen. Just like super nice. I really liked the way I approached the snares here. And this kick, super reverby. I just used it for the for the last chorus, because the last chorus is a little different. And then a tiny bit of uplifting again. But here, remember that previous bass uplifter was kind of like sidechain, it was wobbly, right? This one is just sub bass. I have no idea why I decided this way, but like 90% of the time I have no idea why I decide certain things to be the way they are, but that's what I did here. And that's pretty much it for the bridge. Just like a bunch of vocal layers, right? And no bass here, and just some drums at the beginning to kind of enter that chorus. And now the chorus starts in a different way, not what you've heard before, because I kind of wanted, again, diversify a little the song, right? I didn't want to go again back to the same chorus that you've heard 2 times before already. And besides, the, drum kit is essentially the same throughout the whole song, so I was like, I need something different. So that's what I came up with.
Now I'm begging, please give me some answer. Just wanna romance her. The craving took the power over me. Unexpected.
The biggest difference here is probably the drums and the bass, because the bass here is sub bass. First of all, super distorted. I add this is a free plugin, how it's called, IVGI2 Klanghill. You can get it. I don't really use it that much anymore, but it's a good one. It's a good distortion plugin. And then I used clip distortion from Logic. I think I used some, some preset and then just tweaked it a little. And that's it for my, and then also some EQ here. It also has some overdrive plugin here from Logic. Yeah, I guess I used it too. Super distorted. And then here is this wobbly bass again, the one that we used as an uplifter previously, but now I have it as like lead, right? And here what I should have done, I should have also added some sidechain or something, because now they're kind of clashing. Although I did cut out the lows. So I guess because I cut out the lows, it's acceptable. But usually you don't want your bass to clash with something else. That is the reason why bass is usually sidechained to the kick, so that when the kick kicks in, the bass is slightly dipping, so that it has a little bit of that space in the low end for the kick. And so you definitely don't want to have two basses, two bass, like a sub bass and a bass guitar, right? Because they're just fighting for that frequency range. Here, also the biggest difference, another one, is the drums. It features a whole different pattern. There we have, so here we have the kick, usual kick, right? But it's layered with the reverb that we looked at before. You hear that reverb on the kick, right? I'm gonna just pull this. This is just a kick, and then with the reverb. And what do we? And we have some claps here, layered with the snares. So this is the usual snare, right? This is the usual snare. And then I also added a clap. Yeah, just two claps. One that goes slightly to the right, the other one that goes slightly to the left. And actually, in this case, the clap is even louder. I think I wanted the clap to be the main element and the snare to be kind of more play a more supportive role, you know. And then I also have the other snare from the song. And then the hi-hats also different here. Essentially, every fourth note, you know, a hi-hat, just one hi-hat, not the other one. I thought it was enough, you know, with the way it was. I didn't really need another hi-hat. And what else is different? Oh, there's some guitar here. Yeah, it's essentially the same reverb guitar. I just bounced it out because I wanted to cut out the tail here. And this is another uplifter. Same guitar, just a different guitar, different playing. What is this? This is, yeah, just again some transformed vocal. And then that's essentially it, I think. Then the chorus basically goes the same way as it did previously, right? Absolutely same way. And then I end it with an outro, which I enter with with some toms and a little bit different drums. Listen. So just 2 toms really made a big difference here. One panned a little right, the other one left, and that's how I enter the outro. And there is also this remember from the intro. I use it as an outro too, and that's how I enter the outro. And without this, the chorus, like the outro, pretty much sounds the same way as the chorus.
Brave to dive inside her waves. Our bodies filled with teenage.
And then this small part actually made a big difference for the outro to sound in a like totally different way.
Brave to dive inside her waves. Our bodies filled with teenage blood. Our bodies filled with teenage blood.
And there's many ways to end a song. Songs can be ended like, you know, super kind of suddenly, you know, just cut off. Songs can be ended with a bunch of reverb. I chose to end it with a dry note, so that last blood is super dry. All the layers are absolutely dry on that note, and I just cut all the reverb there. And that's how the song ends. And the last phrase, my body's filled with teenage blood, also has a similar pattern to that last second verse, remember, where we had that kick and the bass and the vocal stack and the guitar kind of hit at the same time. This one.
Never been blown off so bad.
So here I have a similar kind of way to end the chorus and the whole song, but not as much as in that second verse. Listen.
Bodies filled with teenage blood.
There's only like kick in the bass and the vocal stack twice ends, right? So like this stack and then this guitar and the drums and the bass. And yeah, that's how it ends, really. Nothing. It's the same way, you know, a bunch of vocal layers for that. My body's filled with teenage blood. Damn, why can't I remember my own lyrics? That's weird. There is also a bit of like uplifter for the end. It is just reversed vocal, actually, from somewhere else. I don't remember what phrase was it exactly, but I think it was a reversed vocal. It was vocal that I put some reverb on and reversed it then. You know, bounced it out and reversed it. and that's what I used as an uplifter. So again, anything is an uplifter, right? And that's it, I think. I'm also gonna show you the vocal chain that I have on the lead vocal. So first of all, maybe the mastering that I do. It's essentially one plugin here, at least. Sometimes I put on some EQ, almost always do, but not here for some reason. Because I didn't do mastering, actually. I put on some EQ, get some high end a little, and just a tiny adjustments. And then also a limiter, I use isotope maximizer, and then this magic. This is Maserati from Waves, and I absolutely love it. I just use some presets, tweak it a little, and that's my mastering. Really, it works wonders. And I also use them for like stacks such as drums. You know, there's several presets for drums, for guitars, for vocals, background vocals, synths, and I just use it on all these stacks. You see harmonies. I have this Maserati here. Then you go to drums. I have this Maserati here. So it's, you know, not only for the mastering itself, but also for all these stacks of like different instruments, right? But when it comes to the lead vocal, I have a compressor with aiming at -5 gain reduction.
It's been some time since I got it.
Ratio around 4. Makeup. This first compressor for me is usually to reduce the peaks, and then the second one is more for makeup. Gain to kind of, you know, bring up the lower sound. And then here I just adjust the threshold. Here it's -15 with the ratio of around 4, attack 5.5, release 140. Usually release is always above 100. Can be different from vocal to vocal. A bit of high end for the EQ. Cut out the lows, cut out the low mids. A tiny bit adding 1500, cutting out a little 2500. Adding a bit, oh yeah, this is just the high end. And then a bit of pitch correction. I run my vocals through Melodyne, so this is just to tie it up together. Then I have a de-esser of -22. The harmonies and the doubles are gonna have a higher, a harsher de-esser of like -32, for example. Then I have another compressor, as I said, to, you know, have a bit more of that makeup gain, and it's less harsh. You know, the ratio is 2.9. Attack is a bit slower, release a bit longer, and not as low threshold. And then also noise reduction, and then a tiny bit of saturation. Soft tube is free, saturation knob, so I just used this one. And then for the harmonies, I essentially use the same thing, just a tiny bit different. You know, each harmony for me is treated a little differently, so that it doesn't sound exactly the same. You know, for example, especially with EQ, you can play around a lot. Just have a bit more gain for some frequency in one harmony, a little less in the other harmony, cut somewhere in the other harmony, do something different in the other harmony, right? And also, as I said previously, all harmonies have harsher de-essing, different bus processing. It's still, the base is still the same, to use 2 buses for reverb, 1 for a delay. At least that's what I do. But they're just different. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you liked it. I hope that was insightful. And I'm gonna release a song next week, and I'm gonna drop a lyric video, and also gonna probably do the same thing for that song. That one is gonna be more like Phineas type of production. So I'm gonna talk about more like what is Phineas doing in his production. So if you're a fan of Phineas, definitely, you know, keep an eye on my channel and wait for that video and for that song. I think you're gonna love it. But yeah, till the next time, guys. Bye.